Welcome to the Have More Fun podcast. In this episode, I talk with Shannon Miles about multitasking, the time she met Richard Branson, and how to be a working mom without the guilt.
Oh my God, what a fun place to start. Like, we're just setting the proper tone
We're just
for
jumping right in, yeah.
I have felt like that, but I'll be honest with you, I don't feel like that as much anymore because I've learned to let things go. Creating an amazing culture. And I think that's been a key reason why we've grown as quickly as we have over these last 7.5 years.
So I have a little bit of a fascination with Richard Branson. I'm enthralled by how he has managed to do important work, be a leader in every industry he enters, all the while having a tremendous amount of fun along the way. There are 3 things that I believe Richard Branson can teach us all about how to make decisions regarding our work. First, you don't need hundreds of thousands of dollars to launch a successful business. In the 1960s, Richard Branson's mother found a necklace lying in the middle of a road. After taking it to the police station in a couple of months where it was unclaimed by anyone, Branson's mom got to keep it. She sold the necklace for £100 and gave Richard the money. And with that money, Virgin was born. Second, successful people start before they feel ready. When Richard Branson was 15, he quit school and started a magazine named Student. From there, he and his friends decided to start a record label together, and because none of them had any business experience, they named it Virgin Records. Not surprising, the name spread like wildfire, and now Virgin has become a brand employing more than 70,000 people around the world. And lastly, Richard Branson has the nickname of Dr. Yes. And why Dr. Yes? Because his motto is, life is more interesting when you say yes. His employees, his family, and his friends all agree. Richard has fun and does life-giving work because he is willing to try things no one else is. He reinvents the rules and everyone benefits because of it. And the same is true for my guest today. Shannon Miles is redefining and reinventing the rules for what options are available for working moms around the world. She's the author of The Third Option and the CEO of Belay, one of Inc. 500's fastest growing companies, and also the winner of Entrepreneur's #1 Company Culture Award. Shannon believes in living life more fully, just like Richard Branson, who she has met, by the way. And for Shannon, living life more fully also means being a great mom and a great wife. And in this episode, Shannon tells us why women don't have to choose between a career and a family, but can actually have both and thrive. And so without further ado, here is my friend, Shannon Miles. Okay, Shannon, so I have a tiny fascination with Richard Branson, and tucked into your bio is one sentence that I feel like we need to talk about right away. And you say, while on Necker Island with Richard Branson, I learned that if my dreams don't scare me, they aren't big enough. And so I need to hear all the details. How did you end up on Necker Island? And is Richard Branson as cool in real life as I imagined?
Oh my God, what a fun place to start. Like, we're just setting the proper tone.
We're just jumping right in, yeah.
Just jump right in. No, I include that in my bio so that I don't forget that it actually happened, that it wasn't a dream, something I just made up, because it was such a magical week. It was in, let me think, 2013, 14. We got connected through Entrepreneurs Organization, through our PR firm that we were working with at the time. And Brian, my husband, who is the co-founder of my business with me, said to the PR firm, hey, I just like pie in the sky would love to meet Richard Branson someday. Because they were asking, like, what are your big, crazy dreams? And he just kind of threw that out there. And no kidding, like 2 months later, we had gotten connected with somebody who was organizing a trip and had some slots available for people to come. And so we went, we just jumped on it. And yes, he is as cool as as his big, huge persona is.
I'm so relieved to hear that. Yeah.
It was one of those things where it's like, we felt like maybe the opportunity wouldn't be presented again. So it would be crazy not to take advantage of the invitation. And I think it was really kind of a rare trip in the sense that almost all of us on the trip were business owners. And I think he has such a strong business mind and is very fascinated by emerging markets and industries and trends that he just spent a lot of time hanging out with us, like way generous with his time, like an hour and a half, 2 hour long Q&A session where we could just pick his brain about anything. We went paddle boarding and he did almost every dinner with us. I think it was every dinner that week. So it was an amazing experience. You may not have wanted to start there because I could honestly go on and on about it. It was amazing.
So the whole idea that if your dreams don't scare you, they aren't big enough. How does that play out in your life?
Yeah, that kind of came out in the Q&A because it was right after the whole Virgin Galactic tragedy where the test ship exploded and the pilot died as a result. It was a really tough time to be having that conversation, but he still challenged us to dream big. And I think it's so tempting just to settle into what's safe and known and not really push beyond those boundaries and challenge what we should be pursuing in life. That was my big takeaway from that time. It's like even something as simple as if the woman who coordinated the trip could do it, like why couldn't I coordinate a trip like that? Or why couldn't I find amazing opportunities to run to in life? And it just sort of took away some of the fear I think that I still had because the business was still pretty young at that time, and it's, you always kind of second guess things, but it just made me say, like, if a trip like that could happen in life, and if Richard, who is dyslexic and I don't even think went to college, has this enormous empire of businesses, then surely I need to dream bigger.
So cool. I love that. And how inspiring to kind of help kickstart your own vision for a different reality for your family. Before we talk about Belay, I wanted to get your opinion on a trend that I'm seeing all over the world. And we talked a little bit about this before I hit record, but because of the nature of my work, I talk with lots of women over the course of a year, and I keep hearing the same two things over and over again. And one is that women feel exhausted because they're doing so much. Mm-hmm. And the second is that they feel like they're not doing enough, which is crazy, right? And enough to like make us constantly feel like we're not enough. We can't accomplish everything we need to over the course of the day. And so have you ever felt like that? And second, what do you think is the cause of this chronic state of exhaustion and not feeling like we can catch up?
Yes, I have felt like that, but I'll be honest with you, I don't feel like that as much anymore because I've learned to let things go. And I've learned to realize that a lot of that pressure is coming from myself and not from other people, which is awesome because I can control myself. I can't control other people. But yeah, it's a very real struggle that we face. And I think as women, it is very hard to ask for help because we're so accustomed to being able to handle it all. You just give it to me, I'll get it done. And while that's an amazing attribute that many of us have, I think if it's pushed beyond a healthy place, it can result in resentment toward the people that we are caring so much for and trying to love and trying to serve. And without even realizing it, we can start to resent those very people that we love so much because we're trying to do it all. And so over time, for me, I've just had to be really brutally honest with what I can accomplish in a day. And I don't know if your listeners are familiar with the Enneagram, but I'm a 3, which is the performer or achiever, depending on the specific test that you take. But in any event, I live with this idea of, well, that's nice that I got these 20 things done. What about the 20 I didn't get done today? And just, I think, self-awareness, and kind of recognizing that's how I'm wired and not beating myself up over it, but looking back at maybe what I've accomplished in any given day and saying, okay, that was enough for today. And coupled with that is the really real situation that we don't have to do it all on our own. We need to be better about asking for help. And especially if you're owning or running a business, you need to be delegating. And so I think those things are some really practical steps to combat that overwhelming feeling and exhaustion.
Definitely. Can we talk a little bit about your story? You had a career that you loved and then made a choice to have a baby. And then after returning to work, you realized that something had to change, but you didn't want to be a stay-at-home mom. And it was during that season that you realized that we have more options than we think we do. And for a long time, it's been assumed that there are two options with regard to work, right? Full-time employment or unemployment. And you, however, have discovered that there are creative ways of making our schedules and our workplace more flexible by creating what you call a third option. Can you explain about this idea of a third option?
Yeah, I mean, my third option journey really started, like you said, when my daughter Rainey was born 12 years ago. Because I was working in a company that I loved. I had the position in the company that I had worked for 5 years to attain. And the plan was for my, after my 3-month maternity leave for me to go back to work, we had a nanny all lined up. And that happened. And I did that plan. What I didn't factor in is how much I was going to love this little baby, and how she was just going to wreck me. And on top of that, my husband and I were both in sales, which is tricky to manage when you don't have kids. And I found it impossible to manage when we had Rainey. So after, going back to work 3 months, after the 3-month maternity leave, it became obvious very soon, like I wasn't going to be able to continue on my path. And so we talked about maybe he should stay home. Maybe I should stay home. And he had more potential in his career at that point than I did. So I thought, like you said, I guess I have to stay home. Even though I loved working, I just didn't see space between those two choices. Until I realized that while I was out on maternity leave, this part-time remote position had been crafted in my absence, which was more of a project management, issue resolution type role. And so I actually went to my boss thinking, okay, maybe I could do that for a while and get, being in sales, I had all these back commissions that I wanted to have paid, ride that out, get paid, because we weren't financially prepared for me to stay home, right? That wasn't in the plan. And then I would just stay home. So when I went to him and proposed this brilliant plan that honestly, I felt God directing me in that path, as I had in every other step in my career there so far. It was like the most obvious calling from God. And so I went to him with like all confidence in the world that this is how I would love for it to be. And he told me no. And I was like, oh, I didn't anticipate that response. Okay. And I was crushed. And so I went home and talked to Brian and decided the next day that I would go to my boss's boss and propose the same plan, because I was just so convinced that this was the right thing for our family and ultimately to honor and respect the company. And he said yes, he agreed. And so that's really the start of my third option. And in that part-time virtual position, that project management role, it just kept working. Like the company still needed it. I enjoyed it. And it was 20 hours a week. So I could really have the best of both worlds. I could keep my profession going, but then I could also have the time with my daughter that I so desired.
That is awesome. And now, a few years later, you and your husband founded a company called Belay, which is a US-based virtual solutions company with over 600 team members. So tell us about how that started. And I have to mention that I thought it was pretty amazing that without an office, your company has graced the Inc. 5000 list 3 times and was awarded the #1 spot in Entrepreneur Magazine's Best Company Culture, which is not easy to obtain. And so how did this happen? And what are you seeing as you help other people with their third option?
Yeah, we firmly believe that the success or failure of our company rides on our culture. So we put a lot of time, money, and energy around creating an amazing culture. And I think that's been a key reason why we've grown as quickly as we have over these last 7.5 years. But that journey that I just shared about my third option was really like proof there is a lot of need out there for flexible, part-time, remote work. legitimate work, right? Like we get a lot of people that come to us and they're like, is this for real? Is this a scam? We're like, no, I promise it's real work. We're not going to tell you you're going to make six figures from, in your pajamas, but you will have, a virtual assistant opportunity or a bookkeeping opportunity that you love and that matches your skill set. So that's really the foundation of the workforce that we've been able to partner with all of these years. I think initially when we first started, it was primarily part-time work, maybe 10 to 20 hours a week. Now, as the concept has been more broadly deployed and people understand now more what a virtual assistant is, and people are quite frankly just fed up with commuting and going into an office for 8 hours a day. We're getting a lot of people now that are actually pursuing full-time work, but they want to do it from home. So I think that's one of the beauties of the third option is that it looks different for you than it does for me, than it does for someone else who's having to take care of her aging parents. But the premise is there that we really just need to take back control of our schedules and our work and our lives so that we're not just run ragged and completely spent all the time. So that's been really the premise of the business. And we're serving clients who really kind of struggle with the same things. The clients we serve come to us because they're exhausted, they're overwhelmed, they can't get to everything in a day. And they know the value in having a work alongside partner to come and help them with that.
So resourceful. And I think especially for moms, this opens up huge opportunities. So let's talk for a second about the challenges of being a working mom, because you know this firsthand. And I know there's so many working moms out there who are multitasking, right? Like they're picking kids up from school while they're on a conference call, and they're trying to do so many things at once that they don't feel like they're doing anything well. And so how do you manage working from home or in a more flexible environment and not constantly feeling like you're on call or there's more work that you could fit into the day? How do you stay present to the most important thing in front of you at the moment?
I love that you said stay present, because that is the key. I mean, I think part of the reason we're so exhausted as a society on the whole is because we have tried to spread our attention too thin, and therefore nobody gets the best of our attention and we're not present at all. But it's fixable. We don't have to live that way. But today I'm cracking up because this was like, best laid plans kind of day. I was like, oh, it's not too bad. I've got this podcast interview in the morning. I have to do this article. I have this other one in the afternoon. I'll drop the kids off, pick them up. My husband's out of town, coming back tonight. It all looked great. And then my daughter sends me a text at about 10:30, Mom, can you come get me from school? I really don't feel good. And you know how that goes. Like it just throws a wrench in the whole day. But thank God that I work from home and that I was able to just go get her and call my assistant and say, hey, can you reschedule this one call that's going to conflict with the doctor's appointment to a different time, and just making it work so that when we were in the doctor's office and she's really scared about what she's sick about, I could sit there with her and watch her, little slime videos or whatever on Instagram and be there with her in that moment and not feel this overwhelming pressure of, oh, the work's piling up, I'm going to have to work crazy late tonight. I think part of it's not overcommitting to begin with, right? So that you can allow for those text messages like, hey, I need you to come get me from school, or, oh man, I spilled the coffee on the way out, so that's going to add another, 5 minutes, 10 minutes to my day. Like those things happen and we need to plan for them so that we can be present for what we've committed to.
That's so good. Will you talk a little bit about your book and how you were mentioning that so many different women in different life situations have resonated with it, even though their lives might look different? It's just like a universal message.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to the whole dreaming bigger concept. I think we all identify with being in seasons where we feel stuck and we feel obligated to something that maybe we didn't choose, or maybe we chose and it's just not working for us anymore. So regardless of where somebody is entering into that feeling of being stuck or unsettled, I think to get out of it, we have to start dreaming again, and we have to dream big, and we have to really look at like what we would want our lives to be if no was off the table. Like my boss telling me no. I was like, that can't be on the table for me. So regardless of why you feel stuck, maybe it's a stay-at-home mom who made that choice for all the right reasons, but there's something missing in her heart, in her mind, that she wishes could be fulfilled through some type of work. Or maybe it's the mom who has to go into the office 40, 50 hours a week because she's supporting her family financially, but is realizing, like, I can't keep doing this anymore. This is killing me. Like, sometimes it manifests itself physically. Sometimes you have health issues because of all the stress and the pressure. So I would say the first step is to dream big. Like, what if you had all the options available to you? And then the second premise is just decide, like, I may not have all of this worked out. I may not know what a change looks like for me, but I know I need to make one for the sake of my family, for the sake of my health, for the sake of my life. And making a decision to make a change. And then the third step is just to do something about it. And I'm not saying go quit your job tomorrow. Like that'd be irresponsible, especially if you're the primary or sole breadwinner in your family. But maybe putting together a budget, maybe updating your resume, maybe updating LinkedIn, maybe doing some research on industries that are intriguing to you to see what's out there. I think those 3 steps are universal for women who are feeling like in this place of obligation and feeling stuck. And then once we do something about it, I think those doors start opening, and if we just sort of surround ourselves with like-minded people who are supportive and encouraging for this journey, it's amazing what opens up. Like I've seen it in my own life, and I know that a lot of my team has too.
That's so good. And I'm guessing because of the choices that you've made, that your definition of success looks different than a lot of other people's. So what does success mean to you?
I've said this and it seems to make sense that you can have it all. There's this, can you really have it all? Yeah, I think you can. You just have to be realistic about what all is. Mm-hmm. So for me, success is not a lot of material things. It's not putting my kids in the most expensive schools. It's not having the most expensive things in life. Fortunately, the business has done well, and I have been blessed way beyond where I started my life in a trailer in South Carolina. But if it all went away, I would still be successful because I'm happy and I feel fulfilled, and I'm doing every day what I love to do, whether that's having a chill day on a Sunday where we're not really doing much around the house and we're just hanging out as a family, or it's flying to Austin to speak at South by Southwest. Like I love all of it and I get to do what I love. And I think regardless of what that looks like for your listeners, I think really drilling down on what success looks like, and then fighting so hard to achieve that, because it's not easy, right? Like, oh, dream, dare, dream, decide, do. It sounds so easy. It's not. You have to do it over and over again when times get tough. It's like a decision that you have to keep making over and over again and fighting for. So I guess if you had to boil down success for me, it would be being happy and feeling fulfilled with what I do.
That's awesome. If someone's listening and they're like, I'm really intrigued about Belay and a third option for my own work life, where can they get more information?
And listen, we are always looking for people to partner with. We are always on the hunt for amazing, skilled bookkeepers, virtual assistants, writers, and webmasters. So bring them on. If this is intriguing, there's a ton of information at belaysolutions.com where you can find out about the positions available and what we're looking for in them. Like you mentioned at the top of the podcast, like they're all remote positions. So everybody's working from home. So some of the fundamentals of being familiar with technology and having a good at-home work environment are essential to any of the positions in the company. But I would love, love, love for your listeners to check it out and see if they think it'll be a good fit for them.
Awesome. Okay, Shannon, one of my favorite questions to ask all my friends, what is the best advice you never got?
Such a good question. I love this. I would say, don't doubt yourself. Like, I struggle with the feeling of not being enough. and feeling completely inadequate in all the areas of life. Like you said before, you feel like you're not giving any one area your all. That is a constant theme in my life. And so I think if I really knew like not to be so hard on myself earlier on, I would have saved myself a lot of self-doubt, a lot of missed opportunities. What changed my life in this perspective was reading Brene Brown's Gifts of Imperfection. And this is after we started the business. I just remember feeling, God, I can't do this. I am completely inadequate for what you've given me. And the premise of that book is, no, you're enough. Like wherever you are, you're enough. And I remember sitting in a coffee shop, just crying my eyes out with my Bible and my journal and my Brene Brown book. And I just decided to believe it. And it changed the course of my life.
Man, I feel like that is a message so many of us need to hear. Yeah. Seriously, so powerful.
I mean, we are, and we do it to ourselves, and we don't need to. We need to be kind to ourselves and love ourselves and be proud of who we are and dream bigger.
Definitely. Okay, last question. How do you cultivate more fun in your life?
Oh, girl, I'm all about some fun. It's one of our company values.
Nice.
It's God, team, vision, passion, gratitude, and fun.
What?
Okay, so
that is amazing.
Yeah, we like budget for fun. So anyway, so for the business, we have parties at every event. Like when the book came out, I had a big launch party at my house where we just celebrated everybody's hard work and the success of the book. So I love a good party. My husband and I love to travel with and without our kids. I've always heard it's a trip if you have your kids with you, it's a vacation if you don't. So we like trips and vacations.
I like that distinction.
It makes perfect sense, right? Love hanging out with my friends, and there's some really cool wineries in North Georgia. So whenever we get the chance to go up there and go wine tasting, that's always a blast. And just having a good sense of humor. Like I shared earlier, this craziness with my daughter today and this unexpected doctor's visit. And I was like, you know what? 12 years old really kind of sucks sometimes, doesn't it? She's like, it does. So just kind of taking life as it comes and having a good time are very important to me.
That is awesome. Hey, thank you so much for the way you're reshaping the landscape for so many working women, because it is time for a revolution. And I feel like you're leading the charge. So thank you for that.
Thank you. And thank you for the work that you're doing for connecting moms and letting them know that they are not alone in this journey and that there's a whole community out there to support them. So I love the work that you're doing, and I'm so thankful to be a part of this podcast today.
Hey there. Thanks so much for listening today. I want to invite you to join me in Louisville, Kentucky, September 20th through the 22nd for MomCon. It is the largest gathering of moms around the world, and it is the most fun you will have in one weekend. We are going to dance, we're going to talk about all sorts of crazy and amazing things, and we're going to have some really fun special guests that you want to meet and get your picture taken with. And I would love to see you there, so go to momcon.mops.org to register. Now go out and have an adventure, and don't come back until you do.